So you work out hard to look great and get in top shape, but then sometimes you find out there's some backlash, a downside. That's what some of the fitness models tell me, the haters. Today my personal trainer Chad Crouse is back, straight off the cover of the magazine. Pleasure to have you here today, Chad. Welcome back.
Yes.
So you were going to tell us what your experience was. This started, we were joking around at the gym the other night when we were training, and you were telling me about the haters. So what is up with the haters?
Tell me, that's what I'm talking about. What's up with the haters? You know, I mean, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're at your, local gym. They're at the beach. They're at the mall. You know, they're everywhere. So I mean, when it comes to like advertising your body or health and fitness or whatever you may call it, it's more of a negative approach. You know, people don't want to tend to like accept that too much. So I don't know if it's because of insecurities or people just want to talk down on bodybuilders because what they read in magazines or what they see on TV or whatever it is. You know, or what they hear at the gym. So they look at bodybuilders as like, drug addicts, or Or
you said meatheads. Is that?
Meatheads is another one. I mean, it goes on. Like they think they have compulsive behaviors, because of all the steroid use. They just think they're like dumb idiots. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons why most people think how bodybuilders are. And
you said even at the beach, like at Venice Beach or something, you get obnoxious comments from people.
Oh yeah, all the time, especially if I'm at my peak condition. In the summertime, I like to be in my best shape ever, So especially if I'm like, walking my twin brother, I'm walking around the beach with my shirt off. And
he's also a fitness model, by the way.
Absolutely, right. And this is the times when we were like in our best shape. We're the biggest, in that time, throughout the year because we're doing competitions and stuff like that. So we're walking through the beach with the tank tops and stuff like that. People kind of like roll their eyes at us, or because we think we're like, narcissistic or whatever it is, So I mean, we're hot like everybody else. We're gonna walk around with no shirt off just because they catch some sun or to release some heat and stuff. So people, will just say derogatory comments. They would say, meathead, like you said. Or they'll think of flaw and they'll go, look, he thinks he's the shit. It can be many things. There's a lot of stuff people would say, and it's just kind of it's insulting. When you go on the beach.
And so, how do you react when somebody says that? What do you do?
Most of the time, I'll just shut it off. If they say it like right up in my face, then I'll say something. And when they say, "Oh, you take steroids," I go, "Hey, man, do you take drugs? Do you just take crack? You smoke weed?" I'd say it right back at them. So it's just stupid how people have to like say those kind of things to somebody, assuming that you can't build it up there naturally.
But it's interesting.
That's genetics. You know what I mean? Some people won't get in bodybuilding or fitness modeling because mainly it falls because of genetics. They did it because they have the genetics to look like that way. So there's a lot of hate that comes with society because of that,
But on the one hand, I think, we're a culture that values, people want to look good and be in shape, but yet there is that backlash. So what percentage is it? I mean, obviously somebody's got to like it because there are all these magazines.
Every time I go outside the house and I have a tank top and shorts, I always will get at least one or two comments in that day. You know what I mean? Especially on the beach, oh shit, I'll probably a dozen times I'll hear something. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing I think is interesting on the beach here, and I notice is the difference between, say, California and Florida, Miami, or even Europe. Here, everybody wears those long board shorts.
Yeah, you're telling me that.
And people if people wear Speedos here, somebody would make a comment. I've heard that. Whereas in Florida or Europe, everybody, in fact, in Europe they have the nude beaches.
Right.
So there's even that kind of an element where people are almost I don't want to say more prudish here, but it's something about like showing some flesh. And I was thinking,
that's how much I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to show something. I feel like I'm like a super hairy or something. People like to cover up, but
people think you're showing off if you.
Yeah, they think you're showing off. And it sucks. It's not like we're walking around like we have our chest puffed up in the air and walk around like we're spreading our lats like we have lat syndrome or something. We
always do that at the gym.
Right, like guys acting bigger than they are. Those guys are kind of ridiculous to me. But that kind of puts a bad impression on the top amateur bodybuilders, the competitors, the ones who really do it for a living, the pros or the NPC competitors. They're the ones who have the full package, they're the ones who really kind of look ridiculous when they have a shirt off and stuff, because that's what they do. They're competitors. They're pushing their body to the limit. So when it comes to pushing the body to the limit, of course, they want to look as freak as you can. Bodybuilding doesn't have to be a freak at 300 pounds compared to someone who's only 180 pounds. Bodybuilder means it's body sculpt in the body. They think bodybuilder, people think bodybuilding, think big. So again, that's another misconception too. So it's weird, how people think that way, Just because what they see on TV, what I mean? Or what they see at the local gym, Especially like with my clientele, Most of my women are high-powered, men and women. It's never too much of a young crowd. When I was bigger, when I was really competing in my early 20s, most of my clientele were men. Because they feel comfortable training with me because I was bigger. So it kind of let their pride, sit down a little bit, So they felt it's okay to train with me. You know?
Has that changed? Though you're saying
because the guys have a lot of pride. They don't want to learn from someone who just thinks it's like, you know, obtainable. You know what I mean? And when it comes to women, when they look at a bodybuilder, they'll think, oh, he's going to bulk me up. You know what I mean? So they have a completely wrong, you know, preconceived notion about, you know, what training is all about. But that's what a bodybuilder trainer is doing, bulking his body up. So they think that when you train a woman, you know, they think
you're going to turn into a monster.
But they don't understand. That's just, you know, ignorance, you know, not lack of knowledge. So that's what a lot of people need to be educated, you know, what bodybuilding is all about.
And you said you asked a lot of you have a lot of fitness model and bodybuilder friends.
Absolutely.
And you asked around, and you told me, you said you heard a lot of the same things from
people,
from
the top guys, for sure. The ones who are like the pros or the ex-pros. I mean, their experiences are just crazy. The stories, I mean, God. I mean, some of the stories are just ridiculous.
Such as?
I mean, like my friend, you know, I'm not going to mention names or anything else. I have like, you know, probably about 3 pro bodybuilder friends. These guys, of course, they're ridiculous looking, but it took how many years to get to where we are today? I mean, most bodybuilders are in their prime in their early 30s, mid 30s, because it took how many years to get to that point? It's like you're gaining about 20 pounds of muscle weight a year. So that it's a lot for even just the average person to kind of look at. And so I guess there's always a juicer. For competitive reasons, you know, I mean, I can understand that, you know what I mean? It's like what about football players or sports athletes? They talk about their drug use. We hear about it on news sometimes, you know? But in the bodybuilding world, when they're taking stuff like that, it's really looked down on, you know what I mean? But for competitive reasons, I can understand why some do it. But there are natural bodybuilders out there. So when they see someone who's got a lot of muscle on them, even if that person has to be natural, you see he's classified as a juicer. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's, again, steroid user, you know? So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of hype to a lot of what people think, you know, about fitness models and bodybuilders.
Well, I know
especially bodybuilders. But.
And I know you broke it down. I saw your notes. You had your whole outline for...
You know?
Yeah, where else you had, what I think in the...
Misleading advertisements when it comes to, like, magazines, what they see on TV, you know what I mean? What they say on front covers of magazines, you know, get you, you know, ripped up abs in 6 weeks. I mean, they're advertising the fitness model has been doing it for how many years already? And they're saying that person has changed their abs in 6 weeks. I mean, there's not much realism there.
So it's kind of a, I don't know, saying like a lack of respect or a lack of acknowledgement of the hard work
when
they
that
put into it.
person tries to follow that schedule in the magazine or whatever they see on TV and they go buy that supplement or they follow this workout routine in the magazine, they think that's going to work. You know what I mean? So they think that someone's going to chisel them up and get them that body of that guy that's in the front covers on, you know? So it's funny because that's what what that company's trying to do, to sell that product or sell that magazine. I can understand that, but it's misleading. So when the person tries that and then they don't get to that point, and that's where the hate starts to set in, the frustration. Because they understand, and when people don't understand, it takes time. It takes time for the muscle to grow. You know what I mean? So like the average person, say they lose 5 pounds of fat, you maybe gain 1 or 2 pounds of real muscle, and you know, equivalent to that. So I mean, it takes time for the muscle to grow, and people like don't understand, like, oh, 60 days. I mean, that's, you know,
so if
that's
they
like
don't
maybe
get the results,
right? That's like maybe 8 chest workouts in 2 months. I mean, that's only that much. So it takes time. You know.
You
grow,
said
you know?
for you it comes down to jealousy and ignorance. Is that what you think it comes down to?
Yeah,
the haters?
a lot of it is because of that, because they try so hard to obtain that. But the reason I look the way I do, again, I didn't get into the sport because I loved it, you know, because I actually found myself really good at it, and then it started to become a passion of mine. Because I started to get really addicted to it, how it changes my body, and it started impacting my lifestyle, and it did good purpose on me, you know, my life and career.
Well, thanks, Chad, for being here today. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the gym tomorrow night. Yeah. You can see Chad on the cover of Lean Body. We'll be right back. We are back today talking about the haters. Joining me now are Zac and Lana Titus, husband and wife fitness models here in Los Angeles. You can see them in Iron Man magazine here, and actually Zac is on the cover of Men's Health.
Men's Fitness.
Men's Fitness.
It's upside down.
Upside down, okay. Well, I'm not that coordinated. Great to have you guys here today. So tell me about the haters. Have you guys experienced some kind of a backlash from this? Because I think, you know, on the one hand, people admire, you know, what you guys are doing, and obviously these shows have been very popular, and that's why you're here. But yet I hear there's a little bit of a downside to this. So what's your experience been?
I think the number one thing on the streets that I see for guys, you know, as we're walking down the street, they'll kind of puff up a little bit.
Oh, really? So you see the other guys react to you, kind of like...
Yeah, it's almost like they try to measure up somehow. And but really, you know, it might be looks here and there, but generally from the public, I get a really good response.
Good response, okay.
Great response.
Well, what percentage are we talking with the haters?
Oh, very small.
Small
Very
percentage,
small.
okay.
Sometimes maybe it
5%
can
maybe.
be perceived as like people hating because maybe they are staring at you a little bit longer, kind of looking up and down. But I mean, I think overall it's admiration. I mean, a little
Admiration,
jealousy
okay.
because some people maybe think like, oh, you just look like that genetically, or you must just spend 6 hours in the gym and I don't have time to do that. But overall,
do you?
No, we spend like 45 minutes a day, 6 days a week probably.
And you said, well, actually, I think it was Dan who's going to be on later was telling me. He said he thinks women are worse. So there's the reputation. Pardon my saying it, but you know, you hear that women are catty or hard on each other. Do you get more flack from women, or?
I mean, I've never been a man, so I don't know what it's like on their side. But like I said, just a lot of people, you know, you feel them looking at you, or you know, when I'm changing in the locker room, I feel a lot of girls looking at me and stuff, and I look over and I'm like, hi, you know, I'm just doing my thing. But not any like outwardly like violent words are ever said to me or anything. But you know,
Because Chad was saying, I mean, he'll hear people make comments, not just about it, sometimes about himself, but even other people, like walking down the beach or friends of his, they'll, you know, make some kind of a comment about, you know,
Yeah.
anti-workout person comment.
You know, I think maybe what we might perceive as hate is people have a misconception about our diets, about how strict we are, how much we eat. They think that, you know, we don't eat that much to get lean, whereas you know, it's the falsehood. Actually, we eat more meals a day, and you know, they just believe that we're in the gym so long. But those are the really only a couple things that I feel people really hate on.
Yeah,
So-
so things like I could never eat like that. I'm hungry. I have too big of an appetite. But we're eating every 2.5, 3 hours, and
Full
there's
all the
never
time.
any
More.
lack of food.
I know when I hear what some of these people eat, the guys eat, I'm like, wow, like, you know, the Rockies, the whole chicken or something. I'm like, gee, I could eat like that.
I know.
It looked like that. Wouldn't that be great? You know?
Yeah.
So, does it matter? Do you see a difference between people who are in the business and outside the business? Does that matter at all? Do you get more negativity from one side versus the other? I mean, is there?
There's competition within the field, especially, you know, when you're doing competitions like on stage, those kind of things. You know, people are really focused on themselves, and so sometimes that could come off as them maybe seeing you as a competition or a threat. But you know, you've worked really hard for your body and dieted and trained, and so it is, excuse me, kind of your time. So I don't know if it's necessarily hating, but definitely self-centered sometimes.
Well, and I suppose one thing that makes you unique would be being husband and wife. I mean, at least you have that support.
Yeah.
You know, people
For each
make
other.
kind of funny, silly comments to us all the time. Oh, we hate you. You know, you guys are the perfect couple. We hate you, and that's joking a lot of
Right.
times. So I've never really had it where it might hurt me. Now, sometimes I will walk into the gym, and you know, rarely do I wear something like this, but obviously on TV I like to do that. When we walk into the gym, sometimes I'll get this feeling that everyone's kind of staring at you, and I don't think I would perceive that as hate. I think they're just watching what you're doing,
Okay.
because they wanna achieve those goals as well. So they're trying to kind of pick your workout apart and figure out what's this person do to look like that, you know, or to get a beautiful wife like that. So.
So you don't get comments about, oh, you know, oh, you must be on steroids, or probably
Never.
you don't. I don't know. People don't think women take.
No, one time it was a high school friend, and he was like, "Oh, who's your pharmacist?" You know, but he was half joking. I've never had that problem. I
So
mean, really, I'm not that big of a guy, but I've never really had that problem.
So okay, so you feel though that even the people who are saying the stuff, it's joking, that it's not really seriously meant to.
Yeah,
I think it's all in how you present yourself. Like if you're genuine and wholesome, and you know, and you're
Yeah.
not.
I have a lot of people coming up to both of us and asking for advice,
Yeah.
and I don't, you know, rarely do I see the haters. I know they're out there in every field, every industry, but
Right.
a lot of times it's, you know, can you help me out? How do you get abs like that? How do you get, you know, stay in that kind of shape? So they're just.
Well, you know what it
looking up
is?
to-
You're both from Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
we're
from
not- we're
Ohio
naive,
too.
right?
Oh, yeah.
How can you hate somebody from Ohio, right? You know. But you were saying about other fields, though. You know, singers. I always think, you know, you hear that too. That actually, I was telling, I think, Dan before the interview that I think sometimes people will hate you either because you're really bad or really good.
Yeah.
You know, there
People are
is
going to
jealousy
hate,
in the
right.
world. Let's face it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there are people who aren't going to be too happy to see you on top or doing that. So.
I think at one of our photo shoots for a magazine, someone told us like, if people see you and they think that you're perfect, automatically they're gonna look at the picture and try to find something wrong.
Find a fault.
Like, you know, okay, this, you know, he or she's really attractive, but let me see what. Oh, okay, yeah, there's their
So that's
fault
where
right
you see the
there.
hate in this field. I see fitness models, bodybuilders, they'll look at a magazine and they'll say, like, especially when they're young, they'll say, oh, I can blow that guy away, you know, I look way better than that. And until you actually, you know, get in front of the camera and shoot a picture and then put that beside the magazine, I mean, you can't really say that because you haven't shot under that lighting. You haven't
Kind of like talking something or other.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of smack talking in the industry, and you know there aren't a lot of guys that can stay in shape all the time, or maybe that's not their goals. So I think there's that bit of hating in the industry. So.
Yeah, and as I say, I mean, for me, I started laughing when Chad was telling me at the gym about this. Not to make light of it, but just because, you know, I think the fitness shows have been so popular with the audience, and we just keep doing more of them, and people seem to want more. And I personally, you know, I've always, maybe I'm used to interviewing the people, but I just think it's great and admire what they do. And so, but when I heard this, so the haters, I thought, okay, we got to talk about this because. But so, what would your advice be then for, I don't know? Again, from what I hear from other people, though, it's not just from you guys, even that we're interviewing tonight, though I have heard this before from other people. Josephine Dalton, who couldn't be here tonight, but we'll have on another time, was telling me, you know, she had some strong opinions on it. So what would you tell the people, you know, who are trying to, I don't know, just get in shape and look great, but they're getting some negativity? What do you say to those people?
Those people that are in shape and getting negativity?
Yeah, they're having... Thinking, you know, gee, should I just give it up or go?
If you're anorexic,
wear the nun's outfit.
Look at the media right now. If you're anorexic, you're getting beaten down. If you're fat, you're getting beaten down. If you're a model and then you add a little bit of weight, you're getting beat down. It doesn't matter what we're going to do. We're going to have people
damned
hating.
if you do, damned if you don't.
That's right. So be proud of what you do. Work hard. I mean, accept that. And if somebody doesn't accept you for that, maybe you should try to explain to them more, you know, how much healthier we are, or how healthy we truly are, and how this makes us feel. Because that's all that counts, right? Is that we feel good about this, and that we live a healthy lifestyle, and we're trying to lead this lifestyle for our daughter. Yep. And if anybody hates, sorry.
Well, I say more power to you. Thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
We'll be right back. And we are back today talking about the haters. Joining me now is Dan Gavin, fitness model here in Orange County. He's been on the show before. He just has some new photos taken. We've got you here, I think, with the Superman/thug look as well. Great to have you back today, Dan.
Thanks again for having me.
So, tell me about the haters.
Haters. Haters is a mean word. I don't like the mean words like haters. I don't think there's really a hate out there. I don't like to think there's a hate. I think it's a general misconception in the community, actually.
So it's not as bad as people think it is, huh?
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of it in our industry, especially when I'm around other fitness models like Zac that was on here, Chad, we might use it very loosely and good fun, just being like, man, I hate you. Zac has bigger arms, and it's like a misconception, I think, and he might be like, I hate you because you have a bigger back or something like that. And of course, I'm always jealous of his wife.
More in a sporting way.
Yeah. I think it's all in good fun usually, but I think usually it's how you really compose yourself.
Now, if you'll pardon me, like I say, I'm not trying to, and I'm glad to hear that's your experience. However, I do notice you're saying usually, which implies to me that there's, so what we're talking about is the not usually.
Yeah.
Have you had an experience where the other way?
It's usually 95% of the time. It's unusually, and usually sometimes it happens, and it does happen
what's
every
the other
once in a while.
What's the other 5%?
It's usually in the gym. Usually some guy will come up to you, either it's out of jealousy or just really, you know, just trying to get right next to you and kind of compare size to you.
Really?
And you know,
so just come up and say.
He'll just size you up right next to him, or you know, if he sees you walking down the street or down the beach, he's of course going to try to bulk up and look at bigger than you or something like that. Of course, out in the club area too, out at nightlife, you see a lot of that too. So.
Zac was saying the guys kind of puff themselves up. Do you see that?
Yeah, that usually happens a lot. Especially the funniest thing is usually when people brush up against you in like tight spots and like clubs, you can feel them actually tense up. Like when someone brushes up, of course you just kind of tense up so they can feel if they do try to bump into you, you want it to kind of bounce off of you, if anything, instead of pushing you around. So it does happen every once in a while, but it's kind of in this kind of community, and there's a lot of people here in LA too, so that's not going to help.
A lot of different kinds.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I wondered when Chad had told me at Venice Beach too. I thought, well, I don't know if that's just Venice or if that's.
Venice is it's a very vain area too. I mean, it's called Muscle Beach for a reason. There's a lot of muscles out there too. And in our industry, unfortunately, we kind of get that name, so it happens.
Do people assume that you take steroids?
I've actually never had it. I've had a couple of people call me maybe meatheads or something like that. Before they actually get to know me and my personality, they automatically think I'm a gym jock or a jock who used to play football or something like that. And then I actually tell them what I do for careers and what my hobbies are and how well trained I am. And actually my GPA's in school. I mean, I was a 3.6 out of school, so that's like, I actually tried really hard, and I was very smart in school too. So this is just kind of the end product of what I'm trying to gain here in the future.
And I liked what you said earlier, and one reason, and actually I think Zac and Lana said kind of the same thing, that it's sort of the approach that you take or how you present yourself and the way that you come across. And is that true? You think that that you kind of get back what you put out there?
I definitely agree. It's a lot of your attitude and how you kind of compose yourself. If you, of course, come off as a cold, cocky type of guy, you're gonna get guys that are actually gonna return that favor to you and become cocky towards you. They're going to kind of front you that way. But in our industry, we come across so many of those guys. It's just like, you can lower down a level and just be like, hey, how you doing? I'm a fitness model also, and what do you do? How do you get this? How do you work your arms? How do you do this? I mean, that's how I've learned everything I've trained, basically. And I still train with other fitness models competitively, so, and we actually compete against each other too, so.
How does that work, especially when you're competing against your friends?
If they win, it's great. If I win, it's even better, of course. But I'm going to root on them because we train just as hard. I see them dieting as long as I know they're not cheating in any way, which never really happens. But
what do you mean cheating in any way?
I'm talking about if they ever did steroids, or actually, if they weren't following a diet, and of course they had the best genetics possible or the best body figure. Of course, I'm going to be a little more jealous, but that really happens, and they're all going to basically base each other off of who's going to be the best person in the long run.
You mentioned genetics. I know, obviously, of course, genetics and body type and all of that plays a part, but do people ever say that to minimize it, like, oh, it's just genetics? In fact, I'm sure it must be, Dan.
I mean,
right, you were just born that way.
Some people actually have better genetics. Zac and I have a really good friend of ours that has a 30-inch waist, and with a 30-inch waist compared to my 32-inch waist, he looks absolutely huge all the time, and he doesn't even have to try that hard. And so, yeah, some people are blessed that way, but other people, we have to work a little harder at it. Like, I keep a strict diet 7 days a week, as we've talked about in our splurge last time.
So have you heard, as I say, when I asked Chad, he said he asked around with a lot of the other fitness models, and they actually had a lot of stories about just things that had happened. And I mean, have you heard from other fitness models that they have experienced anything like that? Or
no, I also surround myself around really good, genuine people, though. A lot of the people
Are you from Ohio?
I'm actually from Boston originally.
Boston, oh, that's right. Okay,
it's the same thing, East Coast. But I've actually had more people approach me asking me for how I've gotten the results I have. What's my diet like? How do they become me, basically? And it's not, I wouldn't consider it hating at all. It's actually, they're kind of intrigued on what I've done with my body and how I've done it naturally, and they want to know, and of course, I'm willing to help them. I get so many people emailing me over MySpace asking me for diet plans, asking me for just advice on how to get, of course, the 6 or 8 pack that I have or whatever that I supposedly have.
I think it's an 8-pack. That's what Francine tells me too. So you find it's something positive, that it's a way to connect with people, or whether, I don't know, to make friends or just share information and connect on a more positive level.
Yeah, especially at the gym. If a guy sees me doing something and I feel like a bunch of people are staring at me, sometimes I'll ask them, like, hey, do you want to know how to do this better? Or sometimes, usually, they'll come up to me straightforward, because I wear earplugs and I kind of just go hard at it, so I don't look friendly at the gym, but I rarely am, actually. So people actually come up to me and be like, hey, what does that actually work? And I'll just go over the movement with them and show them what I'm doing and what I'm trying to gain off of it, too. So some people will just be like, hey, I don't have time for this right now.
And then they're probably the ones that get the comments.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks for having me on
Dan.
again. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Show a few more photos of you before we go. You just got back from a photo shoot, I think, in San Diego, right? And
Yep.
we'll
I was
upload
just
this
shooting
right now.
today for Exercise for Men Only. Hopefully I'll get a cover out of it, and I definitely have an exercise routine inside it, so that'll be coming up in the next couple months.
Well, we'll look forward on the magazine stands. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.